Hey there, this is Mark, and I want to do a little video about this issue I'm having with this Black Lotus transaction that's going down, and this is in response to Vintage Magic's video in regards to the buyer opening the package and revealing a card that was said to be counterfeit, and that does look counterfeit indeed, but it's not the card that I sent to the buyer. So looking at this first screenshot on the video, I just want to show you guys that there was no resistance from me initially in regards to accepting the buyer's return request. Actually, you'll see the date being the same date that he made the request for a return for this transaction. So for him to imply that there is some rigmarole that he would have to go through, it's not necessarily correct. When I came to the realization that he wanted to do a return for the card, I thought to myself, well, okay, I'll just get my card back and sell it to somebody else. If he thinks it's fake, that's fine. I know the card is real, to the best of my ability. But then he made mention that he worked with an appraiser, and then he further mentioned that the appraiser was a well-known figure in our community, in the Magic the Gathering community, Vintage Magic. And so I contacted Vintage Magic. I just Googled it up. It was pretty easy to find him, and his email address was on his website. I emailed him, and we had a discussion, and he's great. Daniel's awesome to talk to. And Daniel mentioned that the buyer had a video of himself opening the card, the package that I sent him the card. So when I heard that, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And I told Daniel I had a video too of me packing the card, and I was wondering, I wondered to myself, like, I wonder if there's any discrepancies in that. When Daniel made mention that the card that the buyer received wasn't the same card in my auction, and then bells started going off in my head, like, okay, that's not right. Like, that can't be right, because I know I sent the card, and it was a real Black Lotus. Like I said, to the best of my ability. You can see in the video that's about to come, me packaging the card and me showing the card. And I want to make mention and bring to light something that I find really important. And I think there's two discrepancies between my video and the buyer's video. My video shows me packing the card into a padded envelope. I write the words "card here" on it, just to let him know that there's 5 total envelopes. 4 are used for cushioning. 1 has his card. And when you see me orientate that card here envelope, the card here text is facing myself, my body. So it's upside down towards my camera. When I lay down the last padded envelope that's empty on top, the open flap of that envelope is facing towards my camera. When I watched the buyer's video, there was the 5 envelopes total, but the card here envelope text was facing the camera. It wasn't upside down. But also the top envelope with the flap faced the camera as well. And that was the big sticking point for me when I saw it. I'm like, well, that's not right. The card here text should be flipped 180 degrees. I shouldn't be able to read the card text without turning my head. And I guess the only other potential discrepancy that I noticed off the bat was that it looked like it was really easy for him to open the Ziploc bag containing the card. And I wondered if that wasn't cinched all the way tight, because you see me cinch it closed to prevent any water from going in. But do take notice at the time I start packing the card, and just note the orientation of that card here text and the orientation of the top envelope, so you can see how it was all, how you're seeing how I'm referencing this discrepancy. In the link in the description is the video to Vintage Magic's video containing the video from the buyer opening the package with my card in it. So people out there that are selling big ticket items, there's something you want to be aware of, is that upon me finding myself in the situation, I started Googling, what happens if a buyer was to potentially send back a different item than what you sent out. And it's not good news, guys. There's never been a situation that I saw that eBay would care, even if you proved there was any tampering. They wouldn't care if there was any fraud. So anything that's you hold in really close to your heart, anything that's really important to you, or any high ticket items for yourself, there's got to be maybe another way that you can make that transaction happen. In this community, I just found out by looking at Vintage Magic that there are big dealers that are willing to take on these large cards because they consider it, I guess, vehicles of investment, or they love the game so much they want to have as many of these great cards. Because if you're not familiar with Magic the Gathering, the Black Lotus is the premier card to have. It is. It always has been. It's the most valuable card, and it's the most sought after if you are a big time collector in the community. So my point with this video is to show my side. I don't lay any blame because I can't prove anything. Maybe it might not even have been the buyer, perhaps, but I can't say I did anything wrong. And I hope this kind of shares my side of the case. And if you are potentially looking at selling on eBay, that this is something to keep in mind. It's essentially what they made reference to. If you were to call eBay, they reference something like this might be considered a cost of doing business. Or if you're in retail, it's shrinkage or something along those lines. As how they reference a similar situation. But yeah, that's it for now. If there's any updates, I might make another video. I just wanted to get this out there just to try to maintain whatever reputation I have, because I need eBay to sell the cards that I have, as there's not really many great options for that other than maybe going to dealers and selling it for a little less. And that's probably a good idea for big ticket items, because at least you know you're going to get your money and you can trust these guys who've been in the industry a long time. I think Vintage Magic is one of them, the guy who's the appraiser for the buyer. And you have other figures in the community. I saw a bunch of videos from Rudy from Alpha Investments, but more due diligence perhaps would be required for these big transactions for my part and for anyone's part that's selling big, large value items or very personal items. Thanks so much.